Hey everybody, Neil Malik with Knack Training here, bringing you another Everyday Office video. And in today's video, I'd like to show you a couple of ways of solving a very common problem. The very common problem is something called saving numbers as text. You can see very clearly that all these numbers on this spreadsheet are saved as text for two reasons. The first reason is that every one of these numbers is very clearly left aligned instead of right aligned over to the right side of the cell that they're in. And that tells you that Excel sees them as being text because text is read from left to right, as opposed to numbers which need to be lined up on the right in order to visually add them. The second reason you can tell that these are saved as text values is because every one of them has a tiny little green corner in the cell, and if you click on the little pop-out that shows up here, it tells you very clearly that this is stored as text. Now you can go through item by item and convert them each from their text value to their number value, or you can use other techniques for solving this problem. Here's the first technique. If I go to any other cell and I type in the number 1, and then I copy the number 1, there's a great paste special technique that allows you to paste and multiply simultaneously. So I've simply typed in the number 1 and copied it because I'm now going to take every one of those text entries and multiply them by 1. And of course, multiplying them by 1 won't actually change the value, but it will make Excel look at those values again in order to figure out whether it wants to save them as a number or save them as text. So now I come over here and I highlight by clicking on cell A3 and using Control-Shift down arrow. I highlight all the entries in that A column right there. And now I'm going to use Paste Special. There's two ways of getting there. One way is to use the Paste drop-down menu and choose Paste Special. The other way is, as you can see there from the shortcut, Control-Alt-V. So I'll try the keyboard shortcut Control-Alt-V in order to paste with the special option. And notice here, if we're copying the number 1 and pasting it onto all of these numbers, instead of doing a normal non-operation paste, we can tell it, take all the values that are there and multiply them by what we're pasting. Then click OK, and in an instant, it takes that number and it applies that to every single one of these, converting them back into numbers. Then I can easily get rid of the number 1 and I'm good to go. There's another technique. If I highlight all of the values in the D column, so click on D3, use Control-Shift down arrow, and then use from the Data tab something called Text to Columns. This will allow me to identify this information or re-identify this information so that it can be properly categorized as being numbers. I go to the Data tab at the top of the screen, click on to Text to Columns, and I tell it that we're using delimited text. Click Next. And I don't really actually want to break this text into pieces. What I want it to do is simply look at this a second time. So you can see here I've got all the delimiters unchecked. I go to Next, and what it will do is it will look at this column and then reapply general format to this, at which point Excel will recognize this as a number. So I click Finish, and just like that, it redoes all those values.